Hello. I watched this morning on my little walk. I managed to watch a auditor video, because it's not really an auditor video, so that always makes it better. It was Jeff Gray. It was the extended version of his being trespassed from City Hall. For those of you who haven't seen it, I strongly suggest you watch it. I hopefully will link it in the description. If I don't, then I'm a terrible person. In the video, he goes outside City Hall. He is on the sidewalk. He's on the traditional public forum, so kudos. And he is holding a sign that says, "Fuck City Hall." And if you remember Cohen v. California, that's probably protected speech. That is political speech. That is pure political speech. He gets tired of that, I guess, or maybe wants to enjoy a little air conditioning. He goes inside City Hall. He does a public records request. And then he goes and he's reading the community bulletin, which is there for people to read it in the community. He's approached by an officer. The officer does the standard officer lies about how, you got to ID, you got to work with me, you got to give me answers. Jeff, he says more than I would have wanted him to say. I mean, from that first point where he said, "I'm just going to remain silent," I'm like, yes! And then he started talking about his name was Jeff, and he works for Pinnack News Services, and that day he had done these 3 things, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, he didn't really give away anything terrible, but, if you're going to exercise your right to remain silent, how about you actually remain silent? That'd be awesome. So she asks him to leave. He asks her to clarify whether she's asking him to leave, whether he's being asked to leave, or whether he's being trespassed. And being asked to leave is being trespassed. I think Jeff knew that. I think he just wanted her to be clear about it for the record. She pretty much did clarify that he was being told to leave. He was being trespassed. If he didn't leave, he would be arrested for criminal trespass. And so he left, and then he tried to re-engage the officer in conversation on the sidewalk, and her job being done, she didn't want anything to do with it. Now, am I going to crow about an enormous lawsuit for Mr. Gray? No. But here's why I really liked it, and you may or may not disagree. Number one, I think it is a lot better to educate City Hall than a police officer, because City Hall can change policies. City Hall will affect the entire city. The police officer, you're gonna have to educate every single police officer. I do want to say, before I get on too far about the things that I liked, one of the things I didn't like was that Jeff was putting her on notice that he was engaged in constitutionally protected First Amendment activity. That comes from a misreading that's still lingering in the community. The officers have to be put on notice by the court. A court has to have a court of significant jurisdiction, like a appeals court. Federal Court of Appeals, I should say, or the Supreme Court, has to make it known that whatever activity the officer is doing, whatever action the officer is attempting to take, is a violation of people's civil rights. So it's not up to the suspect or the defendant or the criminal to put the officer on notice. It's up to the court. If the court hasn't put the officer on notice, then there's nothing that you as the suspect can do to put the officer on notice that a particular action of the officers would violate your civil rights. So I like that he went for City Hall. I think that is a much better thing to do than to try to target the police, because again, the police don't make policies, the police don't make ordinances, the police don't pass statutes, they just enforce the laws. So I think it's a much more effective stratagem to go after City Hall. The second thing that I really liked about what he did is he protested on the traditional public forum, and that removes any Adderley concerns that we may have had. And what we ended up with as a result was the officer trespassing Jeff for protected First Amendment political speech that he engaged in off of their property. That's pure retaliation. He wasn't doing anything then and there on their property. He had engaged in that offensive language off their property. So any challenge they could have made about protesting, because City Hall might be legally within their rights, within the Constitution, to not allow any protests on City Hall property. Any protests or displays or speeches or marching, soliciting, picketing on their property in concert with Adderley, because people go to City Hall to file records, to get records, to pay fees, pay things, to all sorts of other stuff besides protesting, besides engage in speech. It is not a traditional public forum, most likely. But by engaging in the speech, in the offensive speech off property, and having City Hall retaliate against them, it is going to be very easy for Jeff's attorney to show that was just pure retaliation, and that there was nothing but retaliation. There was no reasonable suspicion of anything else, etc., etc. There was no justification for the trespass. It was solely and purely due to retaliation. And now imagine if you take this to its logical extent. You have a picnic or a barbecue. You have a barbecue in your backyard, and you invite a couple people over, and you complain about City Hall because the city planner isn't going to let you build your new storefront 5 feet from the street. They're requiring a 10-foot setback or something like that. And you're like, that city planner, boy, he's a real son of a bitch. Or the city engineer, he's a real son of a bitch. And next thing you know, you go in to file a blueprint with the city engineer, and you're trespassed from City Hall because you had the audacity to say that the city engineer is a son of a bitch. We can't have that in the U.S. That is going to certainly chill free speech. If you say anything critical of City Hall, they're going to if you say anything critical of City Hall off of City Hall property, out of their grounds, they're going to trespass you from their grounds. That's ridiculous. So it was a pretty good. He was calm. I love that he was calm. He didn't bait anybody. He didn't get all hot and bothered. He didn't tell anybody he was going to sue them. He didn't threaten anybody. He didn't tell them to kick rocks or sass to him. He was polite. He was firm. He was on point. He was calm. That is going to play like a champ in front of a jury. Now, they're probably going to offer a settlement if he does sue, and he'll probably end up taking it. But I mean, it's such a clear violation of the law. It's not like he would really be setting any precedent that way. I mean, it's Cohen v. California, and you're done, essentially. I mean, there's probably other laws in the circuit or other decisions in that circuit that would also apply, extending it to, fuck the police, whatever. But it's really Cohen v. California and done. So Anyway, in other news, I've heard bragging that Tucson Police Suck have gotten the rules changed in the Tucson City Court. He did. On June 5th, there was a new order by the presiding judge of the Tucson City Court, basically eliminating all photography except if you get prior notice. In the same building, there is the Pima County Superior Court. Their regulations, their court order, their judge's order, presiding judge's order on filming in the courthouse hasn't changed since 2013. So the city court has expanded the prohibitions against filming in the courthouse, the court grounds, including security. You can't film security. You can't film through windows. And the Pima County Superior Court has not made any changes. So I don't know what they're bragging about. And finally, I do want to say good luck to Eric Brandt. I despise homeless people, generally speaking, and I'm not a fan of Eric Brandt. But his that jury tampering ordinance is overbroad. People should be allowed to discuss jury nullification. I wouldn't be surprised if the court ends up making an order prohibiting discussing jury nullification on court grounds. In the interest of justice, because there is an interest in justice there. If you drop jury nullification on somebody right then and there, right as they're going into a trial, they're not going to have time to hear counter arguments. They're not going to have time to digest the information. You know, the last thing they hear before they go in is some homeless person yelling at them about jury nullification, and it might sway them either way. I mean, if a homeless person yelled at me about jury nullification, some shoeless homeless person with crazy eyes was yelling at me about jury nullification, I would be much less likely to engage in that activity. But that's just me. But certainly having a juror tampering statute that would reach to summonsed jurors, that would reach to them having discussions in their backyards with people who may be a summons juror about jury nullification or the death penalty or other vague aspects or general aspects of the justice system not related to a specific case. I mean, that's certainly overbroad and overreaching, and so I, for one, hope that Eric wins on that. Not that I want jury nullification, but I certainly want to be able to talk about it at any time. You know, as long I can understand a restriction at the courthouse, but other than that, you know, let me talk about it. I'm all in favor of free speech. You may have noticed there's a lot of drama going on in the community that I'm not covering. People say I'm all about the drama, and I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I don't share your opinion. If you think that what's going on with Earl is drama, I beg to differ. What's going on with Earl? Earl presented himself out as the godfather of the First Amendment auditing community, and he received some fame, some notoriety as the godfather of the auditing community, and he has been charged, not just people talking, flapping their gums, but he's been charged with the continuous sexual molestation of his daughter. So that's news. That's not drama. That's my opinion. Your opinion may vary. And me discussing what's going on in auditor videos and how it negatively portrays the auditing community, you know, you may think that's drama. I was using it as examples. Now, it seems that nothing that I do in this community is going to make a difference for the community as a whole. Individuals do benefit from it, but as a whole, this community seems to have been spiraling into IRL streaming and drama. And I'm not going to watch the drama. I'm not going to partake in the drama. I'm going to let the drama fly by. So, as an FBI officer, I'm way too busy to be engaging in all this drama. Anyway, I've rambled long enough. Thanks for watching. Good luck, Mr. Gray. Good luck, Mr. Brandt, on both of your either ongoing or upcoming court cases. Have a good day.